Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I sound a little bit like not dissimilar, excuse me, to kind of Rod Stewart after a night out. I feel this morning. Like I'm feeling a little bit gravelly and a little bit husky this morning. Who is first off the bat? Get yourselves in here. Come on in for a cuddle. Shake your bums. It's Friday. Who's watching today? We are streaming across 4 places today. I've decided not to stream onto Twitch because for the first time we streamed onto Twitch and then we got a load of idiot trolls telling me something I don't know. First thing they go for is they go for your fat. All right, then tell me something I don't know. So I'm not streaming to Twitch. Kim Fox is first off the mark this morning. Good morning, Kimmy. How are you, Angel? Good morning, Charlotte Clark. Hi, come on, get in here. Come on. I've got my party voice on. I've got my post-party voice on. And I wish I had been to a party and then it would warrant me sounding not dissimilar to Rod Stewart after a night out. How are we all feeling? It's gone a bit shit outside in Preston. It is not sunny Preston this morning at all. It's gone all grey overcast and rubbish. How are we all doing? Are we good? It's a first for you. She's arrived. She's here. Is Kim Fox in the building? Good morning, Natalie. How are you, darling? Come on in. Let's set up the end of the week the right way. Morning, Donners. How are you doing, my angel? Come on in. All right. Kim Fox, make me get up. I've made you get up. Get up. It's Friday. You can lie in tomorrow. It's the weekend. Good morning, Kerry Hendry. It is Scorchio. Let's start with the shit weather. Scorchio in Somerset. There it is. I'm going to find my It's a Bit Shit beefer. There we go. It's a bit shit up in Preston today. That's where we're at here. It's all overcast and a bit dreary. What is the weather like? Stick your head outside the windows if you've never joined us before. My name is Dani Wallace, and I am the very squeaky Queen Bee, helping lots of you out there show up, wise up, and rise up in our fabulous I'm the Queen Bee community, and here in the Show Up, Wise Up, Rise Up show, where I invite some of the best people I know to come and have a little chat and get ready for the work day. Now we have got an incredible guest on today. We're very blessed to have him around. He's a fan of the show. I'm very excited to have him, but I'm not bringing him on yet. We'll do the shit weather first. So it is overcast in Mankland. Oh, it's a bit shit. Look that. You've seen this. It's a bit shit. If anybody's thinking, oh look, I've lost a bee. If anybody's thinking, oh, look there, she's got a very professional looking weather map. This is not a professional weather map. I am not a professional weather girl. Even my bees aren't staying up. I don't know what's up with this one. This one's a drunk bee. We have got the weather, but in terms of the weather, all you need to do is stick your head out the window and tell me what's happening. And this is a reflection of what is happening out there right now, because we've got a deal in what is happening right now, right? Scorchy and sticky in Hertfordshire this morning. Scorching and scorchio. Look at that. There we go down here. It's a little bit scorchio. We've got a warm bottom today, I believe. That's my dating description. Bloody warm in West Sussex. It's a bit shit in Ellesmere Port in the northwest. So we've got, it's a bit shit just happening around here. Good morning, Lindsay Davis. Hello, hello, hello. Humid and a bit minging. It is a bit minging. Cloudy and stuffy. So the northwest, we have established it's a bit shit. In the southwest, it's looking a bit nicer. Warm but dull in Skem. We've covered it with those 2 Bs there. Where else are you watching for in the UK or indeed abroad? I know we often have Portugal coming through. I know we often have LA coming through, Austria, Italy. So where are you in the world? Where are you watching from? If you are watching on the replay, make sure you tell us you're watching on the replay as well. Hot and sunny in London town. Now then, West Sussex, come through. Where are you? Thunder and heavy rain in Suffolk. Hang on. We have a rainy beat. We can represent Suffolk. And is Suffolk here, 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 here? That's Norfolk. So imagine Suffolk is more southerly. Why is my geography so shocking? I'm going to put that there and hopefully you'll rectify me if it's raining over that side. All right. Okay. It is a bit humid and a bit close, isn't it? It's like this. Goodness me, it's got to chuck it down this afternoon. Yeah, I've got no doubt. We need a good thunderstorm to clear the air. It's bloody red as well as being grey and overcast and rubbish up here. Dani the Weather Woman. Well, when you say Dani the Weather Woman, I'm no real meteorologist. We just represent. We want to see where the warm fronts are, where the cold fronts are. Yeah, London's lower. There you go, London. I'm not really bothered about I got a big FA. I didn't even do geography. I didn't even bother with geography. By the time I got to year 9, I took my options. I parted company with geography. I thought I need to know where I am when I get there, and I've got a sat nav that takes me all the places. So how are you feeling? Shake your bums. It's Friday. How has your week been? Has your week been good? For those of you that have jumped on to Be Inspired and got their tickets, congratulations. We are now, I think we've got 20 tickets of the 65 that are available in just a couple of days. So if anybody wants to get hold of a ticket for Be Inspired, it's the 10th of September. I know loads of you wanted to get hold of one. Tickets are £89, including your lunch, including swag, and including 10 incredible speakers, all graduates of Be Heard, so you want to be a speaker program that I run. They are gonna be amazing. One of my quiz Dave Hall, one of my quiz night team names that, and Norfolk and Good. Hang on. No shit, better than actual weather forecast, because we're actually seeing what's going on, right? Lisa has burnt her boobs and scraped her backside. Otherwise, it's been a great week. Lisa, I want to know what you've been up to. It sounds like you've had an interesting week. Learned so much from your live yesterday. I had a massive light bulb moment. It helped me so much. Thank you. We had Heidi Maver on yesterday, speaking all things MLM through to autism. And it was a really, really interesting show. Today will be no different. I have got no doubt. This gentleman is one of the most interesting people I have had the pleasure to come across and had the pleasure to have a couple of drinks with. There is not much that he doesn't know about the art of business. And I'm going to I'll tell you when you're older. You made me feel like a spring chicken. I'm absolutely thrilled, Lisa. There is nothing or not much that this gentleman does not know about the art of businessing. And I'm going to bring him in here. We're going to share some stories, and we're going to get ready for Friday with you all today. Please welcome to the Show Up, Wise Up, Rise Up show, the fabulous, the devilishly handsome Ian Dickson. Good morning, sir.
Shut up, for fuck's sake. Jesus. What are you doing to me, woman? God. Anyway, look, put me back in the green room. Get Lisa in here, because I want to know what she's been doing to her tits. So
we need to know what Lisa's done to her boobs. we need to talk more about Lisa Wynn's boobs and her scraped backside.
God. I'm here representing the men today.
I am glad for you to represent the men. You are a brave man indeed. I am pleased that you've joined us this morning. Thank you so much, Ian.
Oh no, you're very welcome. Like I was absolutely, genuinely, have been really looking forward to it. I think we've been in the diary for about 3 weeks, and I genuinely have been looking forward to it. So, not least for the fact that you've got a chat full of gorgeous-looking women. Why on earth wouldn't I want to come on here? So...
You know what? Look at him; he's coming in so suave.
Oh God!
So, Ian, we met. Well, probably maybe 12 months ago, sort of a similar time, and now what live, I believe.
Was it the Smarties? Were you at the Smarties?
Yeah, I was at the Smarties.
Right, okay. So that is the first and only time I've done that. So I've not done it since. So I've still got the jar here. I'm going to do it again. I can't say too much, but it involves a very famous 3-letter word beginning with T and ending in D.
Oh, yes.
I can't say any more than that.
Don't say any more than that, but I get you.
So that's coming up. So so I'm like, I can't begin to tell you how excited I am about that. Anyway, so that was over a year ago. That was March, I think, at Aston Villa. So I'm so glad that you were at that one. So
it was it. So for anybody that doesn't know, so Now What Live is so my mentor and friend Brad Burton, and one of your good friends, Brad Burton, has an event, an in real life personal development and business event a couple of times a year, and you were one of the speakers there, and it's an incredible event. It's a really brilliant event where people come together. They are often members of Brad's mentoring group, the Now What Club, and it is like a big business family. So when everybody gets there are new people that come along, and it's fabulous. But it's a great big get together and sort of celebration. And a kind of stopping of the stopwatch for a day for people to reflect on where they're at in their business and their lives, because the two go together. And you were one of the speakers, and you did, given what you've just said, I know you probably won't be able to say too much about it, but one of the most profound talks that I have had the pleasure to listen to regarding Smarties.
Yeah.
And I'm
well, that's the whole thing, is you have to engage with it in a fun way, otherwise it just, because that subject can be incredibly morbid and deep and dark, and that day is about a celebration, as you say, being upbeat and positive and good vibes. So any time I do a talk about anything, I try and instill a sense of fun, but also make sure that that message is important. So and literally I made that up about 3 weeks before, because I didn't know what I was going to do, and you trust your gut that it's going to work. So So and for all those people that are confused, tough shit, you needed to have been there.
And also keep your eye out for the
it'll come again
in the future. No doubt. And when that does come around, we will definitely be sharing that once that becomes more widely available in here, because it was a really profound talk and had a massive effect on the way that my husband and I went forward. Both Wallace and I went to that, and it was fantastic. Such an incredible talk. All right, enough of that blowing smoke up your ass. Tell us more about what you do.
God, it's such a difficult question. So I have this, I'm an international speaker. So I was supposed to have done January. I had 11 dates booked: Australia, New Zealand, Chicago, Kuala Lumpur, Bali. I had just so many different dates booked for this year in January. So I probably would have done 20 dates this year. And of course, all those went. That doesn't really pay the mortgage. It just gives me the air miles and a little bit of kudos. What pays the mortgage really is helping business owners on a one-to-one basis with their, healthier, wealthier and happier, I guess, is probably a good way to describe it. It's not always about spreadsheets and helping them make more money. Sometimes it's about giving them time back or helping them with their mindset and their belief system. So here's the thing, so you're going to get me off on one already. So
I'm here. Bring it.
So I sit in that coach box, and I kind of rebel against it, because it's a bit like calling me a spanner in a toolbox, because coaching is just a really small part of what I do, and to call me a coach means that I'm just a spanner, and I'm not. Like, it actually probably is 10-15% of the skill set that you need to bring to a business owner, because it's pointless dancing around somebody knowing the answer to a question and asking them wanky coachy questions so that they can go on a discovery to find out the answer for themselves. Now, I'm not belittling that. That's important, and it is the best learning ever when they go, I know what you mean, I should have done this. That is absolutely the best way to do it. But sometimes a business owner just wants to know, should I do this or should I do this?
Tell me, please. Just tell me.
So it took me about 2 months to work that out 15 years ago, after I spent 68 fucking grand training to be a coach, that actually that's just a spanner in my toolkit. So
it's a very expensive spanner.
Yeah.
Your lovely wife is laughing at you being a spanner this morning. Morning, Janet.
You know why she's on here, don't you? Because of all these lovely ladies that are tuned in as well. So she's keeping an eye on me.
Do you know what? Tracy's saying you don't sound like a spanner. And indeed, it's not. There is a multitude of skills that you need when you're helping people specifically with business. Because, like you say, there are so many problems that you face, and it's so multifaceted. So it could be that you need to look at your spreadsheets and your numbers and your actual business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an important part of it.
But what you're bringing to the table, especially when you're an entrepreneur, is your whole self. It's everything. Like, I sit in here and my kids are around me. I sit in here and my husband's working downstairs in the business with me. It is a holistic business that we have, even though it's not a holistic business that we share. So when things get a bit sort of struggly or a bit burnt out, or we're in the confines of growing, I say the confines of growing because you're kind of in a chrysalis, aren't you? You've got to break out, and sometimes that's a bit painful. Having somebody like you with a toolbox, kind of like Bob the Builder, having a look at everything, you're not just looking at those sorts of things. You are looking at the whole self. And up here often is the biggest blocker to creating that growth or moving through that kind of pain of growth, right?
The mindset. So my kind of, I don't really have, there's no systems, there's no magic process. If there was a secret road to success, it would be a big long queue of people on it already. So but I very quickly learned that I had all this business acumen. This is my third business. I've worked in retail and corporate, and I've done I was the IT director for Marie Curie Cancer Care for 5 years. So I've done all sorts of different things. So I've got all this business acumen. I did my coach training, and I have an NLP diploma and all sorts of other stuff. But all of that is redundant if you can't get into the person first. And so mindset comes first, then it's the knowledge that you impart, and then it's making sure that they take action. So mindset, knowledge, and action is on my brand, it's on my logo. And it very much is in that order. But here's the thing, you could deliver those three things literally in a sentence. So you could say something that profoundly lets you in. You could then get the piece of information across and then ask them, so how are you going to get that done? And then literally in a sentence, you can cross those three hoops and get and step away and say, I coach Brad. I've coached Brad for about 7 years. And I very proudly say there's probably less than 5 people that he would go to. He'll tell you, I'm sure, if he was unsure, he needed a piece of trusted information. And so many times I've sat down with him and I've done that thing where I've got in, I've planted a bomb and stepped back out again. And a week later,
mind go like
a week later, and I just love sitting back, folding my arms and watching it all go off. And he has no idea. We'd be having a curry. I did it to him in the car. He tells a much better story. Literally, we're going for a curry, and I dropped a line to him, and I knew what I was doing. Yeah. And you could see him. All the cogs start to. I love it. It's fabulous. So yeah. Anyway.
And it's having that person, isn't it, in your business that is that trusted other. There is that somebody that's on the outside with their eyes on. It's like I know Brad's circle's really tight. So whilst he has a national and international network, actually his circle of trusted people is really super tight. It's to have, like having an advisor. Well, it is having an advisor within your business that is completely objective, that knows how you tick, and that can drop you those lines because you're very good. One of the things you're incredible at is seeing what makes people tick and the way that they think. So yeah, I think that's one of the magic things about you. But you wasn't always in business, was you? It wasn't always that. You did something quite different to being in the world of business before.
Yeah. So I know we've only the time goes so quick. So 16. And that was 1976. So when I was 16, I can remember taking a ticky box test at school for careers. And it came out at the end that I was best suited to be a trainer, teacher, or coach. And I ignored all that at 16. Of course I did. I applied to join the RAF because I wanted to fly aeroplanes. And I applied to join the police force because I wanted to drive cars with whoopee wailers on. And the only reason I ended up being a policeman, was because that application form came back before the RAF one did. So, and there's a really, really important lesson in there, which we might get a chance to talk about. But anyway, I ended up being a policeman. And for those that are, I'm 60, for those that have been around long enough to know, by the time I was 18, I was posted to Brixton in southwest London through the Maggie years. So I became a riot shield instructor, and I used to spend my days throwing petrol bombs at policemen. So so I've done lots of really interesting jobs. That I ended up doing this. I got made redundant in 2004 from a very high profile 6-figure salaried job. It was the worst fucking surprise party I'd ever been to. I had not a clue it was coming. And within 15 minutes, I was out of the building, and it was the worst, best day of my life. So it's like, I've done a video on it. It's I was about as low as any human being could go. So it gives me a wobbly chin now. Just thinking, because it all comes flooding back. Bastards. But I haven't worked a day since. I have not worked a day since. So it was the best day ever. So
it's interesting. I had a similar experience. I was working for a global company, and I'd been brought in. There'd been some things that had happened within this, like the senior leadership, like echelon, if you will, that between the people that were on the shop floor and there were like missing links. It was very easy to make me kind of a bit of a scapegoat for what was happening, the disconnect between the two. And again, it was a party that I was not expecting to go to, and something that I'm forever grateful for, even though I thought I'd lost my world and I had to start working for myself. It was at that point I decided, was I going to be a singer? Because the only place I sang then was in my kitchen, because I was working in corporate and it was so busy, and we'd just come through having lost the house, and it was all like a really terrible. Then I lost the job and thought, oh God, like I needed the security of employment. But then as soon as I walked out of that building, I made the decision, am I going to go and work for myself? And I'm scared. I've never done it before. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to file a tax return. Like, I have no idea. But I've had a full diary ever since, and it's enabled me to create this and sit here talking to you, and all paths have led us here. And I just think, when those things happen,
and actually a big part of when I'm on stages, one of the things I talk about is that pretty much in every single negative event there is something that you can draw from it. So I talk about the loss of my mom, being made redundant, what I call life-changing events that you would not choose to do. If I'd gone to work that day and somebody stopped me on the way and said, do you fancy being made redundant today? I'd have said, fuck off, there's no way. I'm on a big salary, I've got the car, the pension and everything else. I've fought hard to get to this place. Why on earth would I choose to be made redundant? So I would never have chosen those things to happen. But without exception, every single big negative event that's happened to me, I've turned into a positive in some way. When I look back on it now, the road that I then took as a result of that negative event has ended up being positive. But that's only because of the choice that you make. So event equals outcome. So here's a bit of business for you. So event equals outcome, which is essentially means, a global recession, Brexit, the pandemic. We have no control over an event. It gives us an outcome. How we respond can change your outcome. So as soon as you put response in there, you have a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
Again,
it's funny. Yeah, absolutely. Everything that goes on here, and like even when I'm speaking to my girls now, one of that statement, what do your reactions dictate? The outcomes when they've been fighting with each other. Like, fight me now. Go on. What are your reactions going to dictate? My outcome, Mum. If that's the only thing that I can teach them, then I don't think I've done a bad job. Like, if your reactions do dictate your outcomes. You can choose. You can choose to fly anyway. You can choose to, like, sit down and think like, well, I'm going to sit here and wallow in my own shit whilst all this is popping off around me. Well, it's a decision. It doesn't mean that shitty things don't happen. It just means you get to choose what your outcome is. Because what are you guys saying? Because it dictates your outcomes. Rejection is redirection. Yeah, I hear that. So you moved from being redundant. And then was it like the next day, the next week, the next month? Like, what made you start piecing things together? Did you go move into different areas of employment? What happened? What was it like? How was that transition then?
Yeah, the redundancy was what they call a compromise agreement, I think, or something like that. So basically, they send you a big fat check and tell you to go away quietly. So I had they gave me a year's salary. So I was very lucky. They gave me, I say make your own luck, but it took them 6 weeks for them to send it. And then I did what any sane, normal 40-odd-year-old man would do, is I bought a really fast car and went to the Maldives on holiday.
Yes.
And completely blew a big portion of it, literally within weeks. And it's a bit like taking a painkiller, because I was feeling sorry for myself. And then while I was away on holiday, I thought, how often do human beings get an opportunity, quite literally midlife, to go in a completely different direction?
Yeah.
And I was on a mission anyway to try and make a difference. We haven't really got time to do it. I don't know, we haven't got time to do it today. So I need to do it justice. So my mum died when I was about 26. She was there was only 17 years between us, so she died about the age that I got made redundant. So there's this profound mirroring of a big loss, and I can remember when my mum died. One of the things that just destroyed me. We will come back. This is a bit like a Ronnie Corbett story. I promise we'll come back.
It's all right. I trust you.
When my mum died, I can remember after about 2 weeks, everyone was going back to normal. And it was like, what's going on? Like there's this been huge void has been created on the planet. And you're all going back and getting your haircuts and going back to work and doing this and doing that. And so we need to give this some time. You know, this is like, what are we going to do to represent this amazing human being now that she's gone, and half of her contribution to the planet has been taken away. So right back when I was 26, I was on a mission literally from that age to work out what could I do to not only prove or demonstrate or add value to my time being on the planet, but also I want to be able to do an additional layer of value to represent her. So and I didn't know back then what that was going to be, and it's a classic kind of Simon Sinek's why, you know, the whole, your whole purpose and your whole reason for being. And so I was very fortunate enough. This is this thing about the positives that come from the negative. So I was very lucky from such a powerful profound loss for it to have given me a purpose. And then I did also, you know, when I left the police force, I remember my mum was distraught, and I said to her, look, I promise you I'm going to be a big corporate cheese, you'll be really proud of me. And I ended up being a big corporate cheese, and she'd already gone, but that's what I was chasing, thinking that's, you know, I've done my bit. Anyway, when I got made redundant, it all started to fall into place. I thought I can change direction and do something that genuinely pays forward and leaves a legacy. Because for me, in its profoundness, which is a phrase that my mum gave to me, which was, just because you can't finish something, that's not a reason not to start it. And that kind of describes legacy in its most profound way. And so I'm still to this day on this mission and on this purpose to be able to, even if it's, I don't care if it's a PowerPoint laminated slide above a toilet somewhere that's got my name across the bottom of it because it's one of my lines or one of the things that I've shared with somebody, and they've gone, oh my God, that's just changed, that whole concept has just changed the way I look at stuff. So that what sits behind this man in a grey suit and a waistcoat is a really soft story, really. You know, the fact that it's business, I would never have thought it would have been business, to be honest with you. It's just that I guess I'm using tools and experiences that I know and understand to be able to do something that changes people's lives in another way. So I ended up flying on one there, but you know, it's just you asked the question, so I told you.
No, and I'm here for
so I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. After I got made redundant, I went on holiday, and then while I was away, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go and do something completely different. So I did an NLP diploma. I went to America and trained as a coach, and I thought this is going to be what I'm going to do to pay it forward. So I'm going to go and change people's lives this way.
And it is profound. It is profound when you have a business or when you work with businesses. I know this because this has happened to me just in the last 18 months. Like, I don't know how much you know about my story, but I remember rocking up to Now What Live January last year, and I was slogging my guts out, absolutely slogging my guts out, working Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, well, Sunday day, weddings, hatches, matches, dispatches up and down the country, being paid peanuts to do it, wondering why I was at the end of my tether. And it's only by being around people who are moving in a direction, starting to surround myself with people like you, people like Brad, people like Lisa Johnson, loads of different types of people, that they started to unlock and unpick actually what my potential really is. And I've gone on now in the last 12 months to move. I'm closer to six figures than I've ever been in my life. And it is nothing to do with the fact that I'm bragging about being like almost just nudging at the end of my tax year, we'll have hit it. But that is a profound change from somebody who 10 years ago was homeless. Listening to talks like the Smarties Talk, listening to Brad share his story and seeing a lot of myself in him and him seeing a lot of himself in me, and seeing that people like me can become successful. That is a profound life. That's a legacy thing, because I'm now going on to do the same thing, going paying it forward to other people and helping people find their voice, share their voice, all that sort of stuff. So that legacy, even with, like you say, just a line or a theme of a talk that you've given or a conversation that you've had, makes a massive, massive, massive and profound change to so many people. It's amazing.
I never thought it would have been. I never really saw myself as a business guy. Obviously, I was in business, but I never set out to position myself. In fact, I do talks now on how to position yourself as an expert, and I kind of never realized what it was I was doing. I was just getting my head down. This is this. I love that the Simon Sinek stuff about the power of why.
Yeah.
So much stuff that I've done, I've then retrospectively, because obviously I was on that mission before that book was even written. So I was on that mission, and then you read the book and it puts a label on something that you've been doing, and you think, well, that makes complete sense to me now. So now I understand how I've ended up where I'm at based on what I'm doing. So but I never would have put it in business. I'd have thought it would have been something complete. I don't even know, to be honest with you. Yeah, but the other irony is that at 16, that ticky box test said that I was best suited to be a trainer, a coach, or a teacher. So, and that's fundamentally what I do.
Yeah, what you ended up doing. It's interesting how those metrics, and at 16, you really want to rebel against those things.
Of course, yeah.
Well, I did one of them. It was on a piece of software called Kudos at the time. And I was like I like to try and I did like to try and outsmart these metrics tests. I was like, I want to be a singer. That's what I want to be. I'm going to tell it I want to be. It told me I wanted to be a funeral director, which I definitely do not want to be. And I was like, I was going to be a singer or a bingo number caller in my mind, because I was like, I thought that was a dead good job because my mum would go to bingo. And all these like crazy things that I ended up being. I didn't end up being a funeral director. I'm glad that my metric did not transpire in the same way that yours did.
Yeah, I would never have even right the way up until I decided to do this would have said that I'd have been a coach or a teacher. So it's kind of strange, really. So, but you know what? All the jobs that I've done, I've never done a job for more than 6 years. So. I was a policeman for 6 odd years. I worked at Marie Curie for 5 odd years. I worked in retail in 2 batches of about 3 years each. I've run my own businesses for 4 to 5 years. My last proper job was 5 years and odd. And now I'm 15 years into this. So, and what happens is when you land into a place that is your home, I actually love it more and more. It doesn't become tiresome or dull. It actually, every year I love it more than I ever did before. So I feel very humbled by it, to be honest.
When you find yourself there, though, in that space where you are in your absolute zone of genius, all of these experiences have brought you to where you are now, 15 years in the coaching, in the help industry, service-based
spannering, being a spanner.
But the more you get into it, and the more, obviously, because it's your zone of genius, you do have such a great impact. It just opens up the doors to more opportunities and exciting opportunities. You start then to be able to choose those. So no wonder, the more you get into it, the more opportunities serve themselves to you, like the travel, like the being able to go and speak on the global stage. It's almost like the gravy on top, where the real work's done with your sleeves up with the businesses that you work with. But you get to do all these incredible things too, like have that impact on a global scale, right?
Yeah, and there's another story there around the speaking work. I'm actually a shy guy, so I've got what I would call 2 friends. I'm happy in my own company. I'm quite introvert, not quite. I'm very introvert. Although whenever I tell people that, they all say fuck off, no way. But I am. My default is to spend time on my own. I'm quite happy in my own. So I blush up. I'm quite easily.
Never blush.
So, yeah, like seriously. So, but I think it was 2005. Somebody said something to me. They asked me how my business was going, and it was in shit order. I was really struggling. It was just before I started looking for another job. Right. My business was bust. 2005, 2006. And which is kind of ironic doing what I was doing. You just think, how can that even happen? It's a bit like a marketeer that hasn't got a business. It doesn't really make sense. hopefully there's not marketeers on here that are struggling. So, but
we have got marketeers on here, but they've got kick-ass businesses. Like
yeah. So, as a coach, I was kind of bust, and somebody asked me, somebody that I have a lot of respect for, who's very, very like he's a multi-millionaire. We were having lunch, and he said to me, "How's it going?" And I said, "Well, it's pretty shit, to be honest with you. I'm really struggling. This is a much, much harder sell than I ever thought it was." Bearing in mind, this is 2005. Yeah. And he said to me, "Do you know what? I'm going to give you one piece of advice that I think will make or break you in this industry. If you want to be successful as a coach, as a you know, I don't even like using the term, but as a business guy, get on stage. Yeah. If you want to be successful, get on stage." Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to implode. You know, I struggled to go to networking meetings. So, right. But you know, I grabbed it by the kahunas, and I thought, you know, I've got to learn to love something I hate. So, and I didn't want to pick up the telephone. I didn't want to be doing, you know, licking and sticking envelopes. So I thought, well, I'm going to start doing events. So. And I literally did hundreds and hundreds of free seminars. They were 3 hours long, and there was no Facebook, there was no online stuff. It was all done offline. Mm-hmm. And I started to enjoy it. And the more I started to enjoy it, the more I started to get invites to speak at other people's events. And then people started paying me to speak at other people's events. And then I started getting invites to speak in other countries. And then you just think to yourself, oh my God, if I hadn't stepped up to that piece of advice back then, and nowadays, of course, since 2006, probably about 2008, I think Facebook was 2004, but about 2008, you now have online platforms like this, which is essentially getting on stage, where you don't have to put your lippy on. Well, you did, but I don't have to put my lippy on. I can sit here in my shorts and flip flops. And get on stage. So anybody that's sort of watching or listening, I would pass that on to any business owner, really. If you want to be successful and be represent, and I know you train and help people with speaking, getting on stage is one of the best pieces of advice you can give, because it instantly positions you as an expert, on the assumption, of course, then you deliver when you're on stage. So
yeah, exactly. Like closed mouths don't get fed. If you don't talk about what it is that you do, and if you have the position to stand on stage, actually everybody else in that room does not know how far along you've been. They only know what you tell them as well. So like when you do get on stage, as long as you deliver, as long as you are, you know, rehearsed, you know what you want your outcomes to be. The speaking is the vehicle. So many people come to me and they go, I want to get paid to speak. That's what I want. And I'm like, well, you've got to speak first. You've got to speak before you start thinking you can like go and command thousands of pounds to go and speak. And I feel like you've got to get your vehicle right. You've got to make speaking pay for itself by being so engaging when you're on stage that people will be attracted to you and then will want to come and hang out with you. Is more the point of the speaker. When I talk about it, it's not necessarily about for me or for my clients, it's about getting them the paid gigs. Maybe if they're seasoned and they've cut their teeth and they've been out and they've spoken and they want to know like how to network to get paid, then that's a whole different sort of skill set. But so many people start out in business like, I want to be a speaker. Well, that's great, but you've got to speak to become a speaker. You can't just like turn up one day and say here, well, you can, but what are your thoughts on that?
You obviously metaphorically, you do essentially, you become naked. So, or you become overdressed.
Right.
I just made that up. I might write that down.
I'm here for it.
So, there's a guy that is a very successful speaker trainer that I don't like very much. So I'm not going to say his name. I watched him do a talk at a Brendan Burchard event. I don't know if you know Brendan Burchard.
Yeah.
Amazing. I did a 4-day event with him, and this guy was one of the other speakers, and he was atrocious. As in, it was so poorly delivered that it was disingenuous. It was unauthentic. It was acted, like literally acted. And if he just, he did the whole, if you stand on this side of the stage and if you stand on this side of the stage and you pause here, and it was just horrible to watch. And he has made bucket loads of money out of it. And so he was massively overdressed. And then the other end of the scale, of course, is that there are genuinely some people that are just, you know, when I say if you want to be successful, get on stage, there are occasionally people that it's just not the most appropriate way to be able to do that. Get on the telephone or get in front of a screen and do it another way. But for most people, I would say, you know, it's a classic bell curve. You probably got 20 this end and 20 that end. You got 60 in the middle. That absolutely it would work well for. It's a bit like boxing. I don't think that you can practice. I think the only way that you get good at boxing is to get in the ring and get punched on the nose, and to actually just get around that whole you know, you get good at boxing once you've been punched on the nose a few times. You must know this as a singer, you know.
Absolutely.
So you know that you know, you learn how to duck and weave when you get punched a few times. But know that the reward is so worth it. So you know, I never ever ever thought I would crave the opportunity to go and speak. There is another me somewhere that answers the telephone and says, yes, I'll go and do that talk. For nothing, you know. It's just like, but it's given me so many wonderful opportunities. I could, like, for example, at some of the speaking events that I've done, some of the places I've been able to get, irrespective of why I went, some of the places I've been, some of the venues I've been at, but actually for some of the other people that I've had a chance to meet that were on the bill, Jack Canfield, Brendan Burchard, speaking at Sandhurst Military Academy. I was the first civilian to speak to 250 captains and soldiers that were the trainers, not the pupils, so to speak. So, which I would never have got. So I would encourage anybody to get in front of somebody like you, if they're nervous of that opportunity. Your second talk is always better than your first, and your third will be better than your second. You just got to keep doing them. So, but only if you seek feedback, advice, and information from somebody that is a trusted source. Because if you practice bad driving, you'll be a really good bad driver. So you know, if you practice bad speaking, you'll be a really good. You know, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. So so make sure that you're getting good feedback. I did it very early on. I had a coach I respected come to me 2 or 3 times, and he gave me pages of feedback notes afterwards, some of which was hard to digest, but valid. Some of it I didn't agree with, which was valid. So you know, here's the thing: when you learn something, I think it's a Bruce Lee thing. So books, for example, or stuff like this, what did I take from that is of value to me? What did I think was complete rubbish I don't agree with, and what would I add to make it mine? So what did I take, what would I discard, and what would I add to it that then makes it mine? So it could be an opinion. So, you know, if you hear a line, for example, practice makes permanent, you think, well, actually, that's quite profound, but I would twist it this way, and then it feels more appropriate to me. So, so I do that with everything. So whether it's a book, a video I'm watching, a TED talk, whatever it might be, I quite like that. I'm going to have that. No, don't agree with that. And then what would I call it Ianizing. What would I do to that to make that mine? So babbled on here. I've had 3 of these this morning.
Babbled on. I'm here. Like, honestly, you just dropping the gold bombs all left, right, and center. I'm loving it. So it's that espresso, by the way.
Yeah.
If I was to have one of can you imagine? If I was to have one of those, my poor husband and kids, they would just not get here. I'd be like, it's all day. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I love my coffee. I don't drink coffee past midday, because I probably have about 5 a day. So I've had 3 this morning, but I get up early every day. So 7 days a week I'm up. So
I just couldn't, because if I have a drink of coffee, just a normal cup of coffee, I know by 1 or 2 o'clock, if my thoughts are racing, it's probably because of the coffee that I had in the morning. I wish I could partake, because I love it. I love the taste of coffee. I like iced coffee. Joanne's saying here for the babble, it's quality babble. Kim's saying Ian's golden nuggets.
Oh my God. I'm just shutting my legs. Hang on a sec.
So Ian, tell us, you like it is a phenomenal business that you've grown, and you are so well respected within the industry, and it is a pleasure to have you on the show. What are you looking forward to next? What's coming up next for you?
Well,
like
like
directly,
I say,
and then in the more distant future, what's coming?
So yes, just yesterday, I agreed to go to do some talks in Sydney and Australia again in December. So I said I would go on the assumption that, you know, all the borders and everything are open. You know, I'm not expecting there to be a vaccine by then, but I'll take personal care of myself. And so, I'm looking forward for that in the short term, because I know that the fact, in fact, I've had two. So the business show, I'm a keynote at the business show every year. Ordinarily, they'd have 25,000 people through the doors. I guess it's not going to be 25,000 people this year, but they've come to me and said, would you do it? I said, yes. So that's November. So I'm looking forward to those and getting back on stages. Well, you know what it's like, Dani, is that this kind of interaction is fabulous, but you can't actually feel it. And when you're on a stage or a platform, you can actually feel it. So, and I didn't think I would, but actually, when you take it away, I have actually missed that feeling.
It's that exchange of energies, isn't it? It's that when you're reading an audience, and when you're a speaker as well, same when you're singing, when you're speaking, it's a tap dance to keep that energy high. So you can read when you're an accomplished speaker, you can read where the energy is dipping, and then you get to sort of tap dance the U-turn, or you can throw in a little bit of a different story. It's going to take you to your destination. But that's an art and exercise that I love. It's one of my favorite things about speaking.
Kim Fox is definitely trying to put me off right now.
She's talking about it since I don't even have to look.
Definitely trying to put me off. So. In fact, it's made me feel. No, let's come back. Right. So, bearing in mind that I'm still in my teenage years when it comes to speaking. So, you know, I did my early years was, you know, in fact, I don't have a great deal of memory from the early my own events, and then it's only been in, I think, probably 2016 I started doing international work, and that's when I started to realize I can actually use that as a term. I'm an international business speaker, and so I still feel like I'm learning my craft and still finding my way with it. And I was in Sydney September last year, and I walked down to Darling Harbour, and I got imposter syndrome. And I know we've talked about it on your show. Massive imposter syndrome. I blubbed. You know, I was stood in Darling Harbour at the opera, looked at the Opera House and the bridge, and thought, "Fuck, I'm actually here." And shit, in the next three days, I've got to do 3 days worth of talks, and they could find me out. You know, it's like I'm still to this day I'm waiting for somebody to tap me on the shoulder and tell me to get back to work. You know, it's just like you've been furloughed for 15 years. Get back to work.
I hear that.
So I still feel like I've just learned how to drive, and I want to take my car out again. So because they've taken the keys off me because nobody's. So I'm looking forward to that. I make stuff up every single year. So you know, we made up a thing called the Big 100 3 years ago, and that's basically 100 business tips in a day, which is just a massive energy. It's a tsunami of content. It's a business tip every 3 minutes. I've got. We get it all hand drawn. You can't see it, but I've got it literally on my office wall. I've got somebody draws them all, and it's up on my wall here. So I'm looking forward to doing that again next year. And then longer term, I'm looking forward to retiring to San Diego. So you know, that's the big plan. So I want to live by the seaside and poke fun at the Americans.
Do you ever think you will like retire, like stop all the way, or do you think you'll always have your hand in something just because you won't be able to not?
We're not talking about Kim's tits again, are we?
We're not talking about Kim's tits, no.
It's all right. Well, it's kind of one of these jobs where, well, there's two things. One is that I'm not digging roads, so I can probably keep going for quite a while yet. Yeah, so I'm confident. You know, I look at people like Jack Canfield, who I'm pretty sure is in his mid-late 70s now. Yeah. I've probably done him a bit to just misjustice, probably mid-70s, and he's still going strong. So I'm sure, you know, I'm 60, so I'm sure that I've got another 15, 20 years in me. Financially retired, I'd love to be there in the next 5 to 6 years so that I can choose when I work rather than have to work. I don't know. I'm one of these one day at a time. You know, this is this whole thing about which we did at the Smartest thing is that, you know, you every day is a day. So you just literally just take each day at a time. And I don't really go that far. So I only really have 1 or 2 stakes end of life. Everything else I don't know what's going to be around the next bend. It might be a waterfall and a big, lovely, mountain that I'm going to enjoy the view of, and I'll pull over for a bit. So I just love every day. So I don't really have long-term plans.
It's probably a decent way to be. Like, it's nice to kind of see it in the distance and acknowledge it, but actually you only have right now anyway, right?
Getting that balance between being ambitious and being content. So because if you are overly ambitious, you're always trying to get there. And there's an agitation, and it's not a great place to be day to day. I love that drive and that tenacity to want to get to somewhere. But I would say in the time I've been doing this job, so often when you work with people that drive really, really hard to get to a certain place, when they get there, it's a bit like a damp party popper. It's like, is this it? So one of the things that I say right at the start of any kind of working relationship is that, like, here's the thing, we are going to have a party on the journey. If we have a bigger party when we get there, then that's great. But we are going to have a party on the way. So it's a party bus. It's not like a steam train trying to get somewhere. So we enjoy the journey, because if we never ever arrive, so fucking what? We had a great
time. Yeah. And I am here for a Friday party bus. Ian Dickson, I am on board. I
can't believe it's like 10-2. Where does it go?
It goes so quick. And I know there's so many things that we can talk about. But one of the things that I want to make sure that we do cover is, how do people find out more about what you do, and how do they get on the party bus with you?
Right. So it took me two things here. So I started off doing something that I say to people you should never do, which is call your business after your own name, because it's then very difficult for you to distance yourself from that business. And that is a generic business tip. But when you are the widget, of course, it makes complete sense. So I started off on that journey. Just, my business is Ian Dickson, and then I took some advice from a very well-known lady who I won't name, who at the time I had a great deal of admiration for, but she's lost her way actually, and she said to me, you should be underneath a brand. So I rebranded about 8 years ago, and I then went big on the Unlock Success, which is kind of my brand, which is a bit wanky, to be honest with you. But I then sat underneath that, and I disappeared, and I felt completely lost. And for about 3 years, I was in the wilderness. I flipped it back round again, and now got the branding that I've now got, and feel a lot more at home. And then, so for about 6 years, I have fought hard to put myself on page 1 of Google globally. And I'm very proud of the fact that if you just put my name into Google, I splash right across page 1 and 2. So
that sounds ruder than maybe you intended, but I'm again.
Oh my God, yeah. So. We're not after the first 9 o'clock.
Make you blush?
We're not after the first 9 o'clock, let alone the second one. God. Yeah. So I'm. One of the things I say is that you have to turn up every day on. If you're on the social feed, you have to turn up there every day. So you'll find me on LinkedIn every day, Twitter 3 or 4 times a week. I'm one of the top 100 coaches to follow on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. It's just you've got to keep up with these things. And then, of course, if you put my name into Google, I'm on page 1. There is a very famous other Ian Dickson, who's an Australian music entrepreneur, very similar to Simon Cowell. And it took me a long time to boot him off. Yeah, to bin him off. So, yeah, it's all good. Yeah, so just Google me, you'll find me.
Yeah, he's in the Google. He's that famous. Is Ian
That's
Dickson.
The short answer. Just Google Ian Dickson.
Ian, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you this morning. Thank you so much for joining me. Before I let you go, on a Friday, what we do is we check in. So on a Monday, I ask my guests and indeed the community, what could they do this week that by the end of the week, they will be made up, that they will have achieved, that will just be a little bit closer to where it is that they want to be. And then on a Friday, I check in with two things. One, have you done that thing this week for you and your business? And two, if there is a piece of music that you could shake your bum to because it's Friday, what would that be?
Oh my God. I'm going to put a link. I'll give you a link to a video that you saw at the Smarties. So it's important to watch it as a video rather than just listen to the music, because I think the video brings the words up. And even to this day, it still wobbles my chin. So I'll give you a link to that piece of music. And I would encourage everybody to watch it and watch it and watch it. I'm going to give you 4 business tips then.
Do it.
Okay.
Let me get my pen.
Right. Yeah. Grab a pen.
I've got one. It's in my hair.
Right. The second most important page on your website is your About Us page. So if you don't have a rocking About Us page, which is about you, then you are missing out massively. So your About Us page is really, really important. On every piece of social media that you are represented, on your profile right at the top, put some information about how you are working with COVID. So actually have some COVID relevant information. The fact that you acknowledge it, that you're working with it, and that you're working around it, and whatever it might be. One of the most important things that you can do in business right now is, which is the term, is that money loves speed. So anything that you can do that demonstrates how quickly you will deliver a product or service, people will spend more money with you if you can deal with it now or get it to them quickly. Like over and over again, it's been proven to win business. So, and I know that there's been people stand up at events that I've run and said, I used that and it's had a massive impact on my business. And I was going to give you another one, wasn't I? So practice makes permanent, we talked about. So the About Us page, COVID. Anyway, there's plenty there. I could read them off all day long. I'm just having a look up on here, see if there's one. Accept 100% responsibility for everything in your life. The minute you start doing that, like your life changes. It doesn't matter what it is. Being late for something, accept some responsibility for it, and it's a great thing to instill into your kids. So every morning we get up, Dani, every morning we get up, even if you don't wear, but every morning when we get up, there's 2 pairs of glasses by the side of our bed. And when we get up, we make a choice which pair of glasses we're going to put on. We're either going to get up and put the rose tints on, or we're going to get up and put the shit covered glasses on. The world that comes at you is going to be exactly the same. It's just what you seeing them through that's going to make the difference. That like every single morning when you get up. And so I've thrown away my shit covered glasses. Apart from anything else, they stink and they don't make me particularly good looking. So I wear my rose tints every day, and the world is a much better place for me for it. So there you go. So,
the world is a much better place for having you in it as well, Ian. And thank you so much for joining us this morning. You are indeed a legend, and I am super, super blessed to have you in my circle, in my sphere. So thank you so much, my darling. Ian Dickson, everybody, go and find him. Google him. He will splash all over you if you put Google if you put his name into Google. He is absolutely wonderful. Gold after gold after gold in this session this morning, which I knew would be the case. So thank you so much for joining us, everybody. If you don't follow us already on the Instagram, make sure you do, the Queen Bee Dani, across the socials, and we carry on the conversation, of course, over in the IATQB Hive, which is our free community where we help each other. We link arms, we festoon, we show up and rise up and wise up together. And haven't we done that this week? Another incredible week of guests. Speaking of guests, applications are now open to be a guest on the show. If you would like to be on the show at Wise Up Rise Up Show and come and get ready for the day with me, please do drop me a DM and we will make that happen. I want to get as many of you guys on here and share as many of you with the world as I possibly can. So have an incredible Friday. Things that I've achieved this week. At the beginning of the week, I was talking to you about the Rockstar Level Up the mastermind that I'm running with the incredible Nikki James. There are now just 3 spaces left out of 20, which is insane. We've only been selling those spots for a week and a half, but there are just 3 spaces left, and then that is it. They are gone. We will be shutting the shop and starting towards the end of July. So if you do want to get involved with the Rockstar Level Up, please do let me know. For anybody that does want to get on the show at Rise Up Show, please get in my inbox. I will send you the link to book on. And that's it for me today. Have an incredible weekend. Take some time, take some rest, hug your kids, hug your family, or Zoom with your friends, whatever it is that you're able to do as we peep on the other side of lockdown. You guys are incredible. I love you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you next week with more incredible guests on the show at Rise Up Show. Ciao.